Hello, I'm Janasz Rewiński and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them, and tell you everything you need to know. Russia's leadership, where the art of diplomacy is masterfully replaced with thinly veiled threats and a delusional sense of grandeur. Just this week, Sergei Lavrov enlightened us all with his sage advice for Ukraine. The longer they delay negotiations, the smaller their country will become. Quite the message of peace, coming from a country that insists it only wants security and protection for its Russian speakers. It's almost heartwarming how Russia wants to ensure Ukraine's neutrality by, well, dismantling it piece by piece. Of course, that is just Lavrov doing what he does best, putting a friendly spin on what most would call an outright invasion. Actually, most do call this an invasion, unless they have made a comfortable home for themselves inside Moscow's information bubble.
Хотел бы подчеркнуть, обеспечение прав, свобод и законных интересов русских и русскоязычных должно быть неотъемлемым элементом политического урегулирования конфликта на Украине, наряду с обеспечением ее внеблокового, нейтрального и безъядерного статуса, наряду с устранением любых угроз на ее территории для безопасности России. И принципиальное значение, конечно, имеет признание реалий на земле, как об этом не раз говорил наш президент.
Then we have Dmitry Medvedev, ever the loyal Kremlin sidekick, who now blames the West, and in particular the United States, for the entire special military operation. According to Medvedev, if only the West had shown more flexibility and intelligence, none of this would have ever happened. Yes, because it's clearly the West's fault that Russia decided to march into a neighboring country. After all, it's not like Russia has a long history of unprovoked invasions. Oh, wait.
Если бы западным странам, и прежде всего Соединенным Штатам, достало гибкости и ума заключить с Россией договоры о безопасности, никакой специальной военной операции бы не было.
What is truly impressive is how Russia manages to alternate between threats of nuclear warfare and professing its deep, undying love for world peace. One moment, they are warning about the serious consequences for NATO if they continue to support Ukraine, and the next, they are painting themselves as defenders of stability on the European continent. It's almost as if they think everyone has completely forgotten that Russia has been waging a bloody war for over 2 years now, while claiming they're the ones under threat. Imagine the Habits being blamed for provoking Saruman and Sauron into sending his orc hordes marching onwards. Mordor and its allies are peace-loving nations, you see, which immediately made me think of Lukashenko standing in for the White Wizard of Isengard and shuddered at the thought. Perhaps we should just move on. Anyway, here we are, listening to Moscow's latest wisdom on peace and diplomacy delivered with a straight face by leaders who think the world should thank them for their restraint. But don't get used to it. Same time tomorrow, we'll be reading a Medvedev rant starring Moscow's inevitable nukes. Some things never change. Have you ever heard the expression friendly fire isn't? Well, it's true. In a recent video, a captured Russian soldier recounted his experience alongside North Korean troops. He first described how his unit, along with 10 North Korean soldiers, was assigned to dig trenches in a forested area. So far, so good. Also, the North Koreans got warm clothing, food, something that's in short supply in North Korea, by the way. Again, nothing special, everything's going fine until all hell broke loose, because someone forgot where the enemy actually was. Take a look at that, because this is rather wild.
Прикомандировали 10 корейцев. Нас выгнали в посадки в леса. Сказали, окапывайтесь, ройте себе ноги. Теплую одежду и еду все отдают им. И при штурме они начали стрелять по нам. Мы пытались их вразумить, куда стрелять. И корейцы вроде как застрелили 2 наших. В такой ситуации я подумал, лучше сдаться в плен, чем быть убитым своей пулей.
Yeah, actually, that was a smart move. I mean, I would have surrendered too if I had my so-called allies firing at me at point-blank range or whatever. I mean, we don't really know the details, right? But if you actually have to tell your allies who the enemy is and which direction to fire, now this does not bode well for future military successes, now does it? Meanwhile, North Korean Foreign Minister Choi Song-hee has affirmed her country's unwavering support for Russia, stating that North Korea will firmly stand alongside Russian comrades and expressed confidence in Russia's army victory. She also emphasized North Korea's readiness to launch a retaliatory nuclear strike if necessary. Oh my, imagine that. Imagine if, in that case, they also confused which direction the missiles should go. I mean, again, I shudder at the thought, and perhaps Putin should too.
경의하는 김정은 국무위원장 동지께서는 대우크라이나 특수군사작전이 개시된 첫 시기부터 군국의 눈치도 보지 않고 나라의 주권적 권리와 안전이익을 수호하기 위한 러시아 군대와 이민희 정의 성전을 일관하게 강력히 지지 성원하도록 지시하셨습니다.
So yeah, imagine such a situation. Your comrades say, fire the nuclear warheads, my friends, and you see the warhead heading in the wrong direction. But, jokes aside, there used to be this term, axis of evil. It was out of fashion for a while, but perhaps now it might be making a big return indeed. So now we're moving on to Belarus. Alexander Lukashenko is preparing to charm the Belarusian public in yet another election set for January. Not one to shy away from an elaborate performance, he has even lined up 7 potential rivals to ensure the show has at least a hint of drama. And while the Central Election Commission in Minsk has gone so far as to register these unknown contenders, the names are, for now, a state secret. With no arrests or surprise disappearances yet, it's safe to assume these candidates are loyal soldiers of the regime, stepping up to the thankless task of being placeholders in this latest election spectacle. And meanwhile, the brown-nosers are not idle. They are hard at work to promote their narratives. How? Well, let's take a look at this.
Главное событие прошлой недели для нашей страны очевидно. Центр избирком закончил принимать, цитирую, как это должно звучать официально, заявление о регистрации инициативных групп граждан по сбору подписей избирателей в поддержку выдвижения граждан кандидатом в президенты Республики Беларусь. Если чуть проще, сформирован круг лиц, изъявивших желание стать кандидатами в президенты. Желания эти, и то только в случае успешной регистрации ЦИКом инициативной группы, нужно будет еще уточнить у народа и собрать необходимые 100 тысяч подписей в поддержку кандидатов в кандидаты. А это уже куда сложнее. Зарегистрирована инициативная группа от действующей власти, то есть подписи будут собирать за Александра Григорьевича Лукашенко. А вот дальше я постараюсь объяснить, почему политика — это сложно. Более того, сделаю это, не называя имена и фамилий иных желающих.
Oh, this guy again. We've already shown you a clip of this a while ago. And yeah, the Belarusian propagandists have discovered video editing. They are trying to appear so modern and all that, which, to be fair, it's kind of boring. I would have loved for them to keep this Soviet shtick with like VHS quality and stuff like that, but I mean, each to their own. Anyway, this round of democracy, as defined by Lukashenko, promises all the flair and none of the authenticity. And why not? The last election in 2020 ended in a spectacular 80.1% victory, complete with accusations of fraud, brutal crackdowns, and mass protests. What better way to cement his legacy than by staging another election with the same amount of suspense as a scripted reality show? Now, these so-called competitors are likely there just to make Lukashenko look good by comparison. It's a sad commentary on the state of Belarusian politics when a 30-year autocrat, an autocrat of a 30-year tradition, it's not like Lukashenko has invented a way to rejuvenate himself, well, whatever. If he needs to invent his own opposition, I mean, that tells you a lot, doesn't it? And you can bet the results will be as predictable as ever, with another landslide victory on the horizon. How exciting! And with this, we conclude this episode of Break the Fake. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.